The sun went over the homes of many nameless faces. The light of the sun was barely shining upon a tall blond figure slowly fading from him. As the last of the light left his hair, a small flame came from the blue lighter with no designs on it. In his eyes, anyone who stared into them would see raw evil, mirroring what he was about to cause. Sam's black t-shirt and his shorts swayed in the wind, acting as if their only mission was to leave him. As the white sedan pulled up in front of him, the man, who appeared to be Hindu, said, "Uber for some?" Sam looked up with the blunt in his mouth, burning faster than normal. "Floor it and head to Applebee's. Make sure you hit me and I'll give you $20, Sam said, dead serious. The white sedan's wheels hesitated for a second, then began to spin, rushing towards Sam. But then everything went silent. The wheels stopped in place. The birds didn't chirp. The married couple across the street stopped bickering. Sam looked towards you. "Hey, you may be wondering, why am I going to Applebee's? Well, my homie, whose name is Levi, is dating a girl. Good, right? No. I found out that that girl is his stepsister. No one knows this but me. And this is how I want to break the news to them." Yes, he thought Applebee's was a good date location. And yes, you may have figured this out, but I froze time just to talk to you. And how do you ask? Well, I can break physics, that's why. And you may be wondering why I asked the white sedan to hit me. Well, I respawn every time I die. I want this to stop. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Sam hit play on the remote that he was holding suddenly, and the white sedan once again resumed, hitting him full force and driving down the street. Sam laid on the hood halfway only, but then as soon as it started, it stopped. The white sedan screeched to a halt, and he was flung a whole 12 feet right in front of the Applebee's. Sam stood up and walked over to the white sedan and handed him a 20. The driver drove off, and Sam walked to the front door of Applebee's, where Jeffrey, the guy in charge of keeping Sam out, was wearing a red shirt with the Applebee's logo on it on the right side of his shirt, dressed in black jeans and white shoes, lifted up his hand and said, "You're not allowed in here, Sam." Sam stepped uncomfortably close to Jeffrey. "I don't think you understand, kid." Sam paused for a second to get so close he was almost touching him. "I have to do this." Jeffrey shoved Sam back and said, "After last time you stepped in here, 8 people died just because you're that bad of a singer. 3 more died because you wanted cheese curds. And Billy is still recovering psychologically just because of the slip and slide incident." Sam stood suddenly on Jeffrey's shoulders and said, "The slip and slide incident was only partly my fault, and you know that." Jeffrey stood there, staring up with a death stare that would make all of Finland cower in fear. "Regardless, you're not allowed in." Sam thought for a second, then walked away. Idea after idea flooded into his mind of how he could get into Applebee's. Suddenly, he turned around in the middle of the street, put one foot back, and then was hit by a giant black truck flying at 60 miles an hour, smashing him and flinging him across the street. His head hit a fire hydrant, splitting him in two. His head on the left side of the fire hydrant, his body on the right. Sam's head rolled to a halt, and it said, "Fuck, that would have been painful." Sam thought of how he could get his lifeless body over to him when he remembered he could break physics.
Suddenly he rose up from the ground, now with a new body. Sam looked back at where his lifeless body had landed and saw an identical twin. Sam smirked before the opportunity and grabbed his replica by the legs and dragged him over to the back of Applebee's. Sam then lifted his replica into the vents with lots of effort and procrastination. Afterwards, Sam ran around the restaurant and busted through the window. People gasped as Sam fell to the floor, and Levi looked over at him, saying, "What is that idiot doing now?" Sam fell down and hit the ground hard, along with the glass, shattering into a million pieces. He then ran to the stage with the karaoke mic, but was tackled midway by the owner. "Sam, you piece of shit! You're not allowed in here!" Sam then turned his head to look at him. "I am well aware, but you don't know how important this is." The owner then stood up, putting a foot on Sam. "What is so important that you would risk the lives of everyone in here?" Sam smiled. "I gotta sing Sweet Home Alabama because my homie is dating his half-sister and he doesn't know." The owner was furious and grabbed Sam by the neck and then flinged him outside. He smiled on the ground, but after a few seconds, the smile was gone as the clone Sam was thrown out on top of him. "And there goes Plan A," the original Sam said as the clone disappeared. He stood up, thought of running in for round 2, but finally stood up once more and turned around to make a makeshift Plan B. He looked at the park across the street and saw a huge maple tree. He smiled and tried to hop in a hole. He then carved it out a bit bigger, and then carved out a space inside so that he could walk around. His plan was foolproof. He ripped up the tree, roots and all, and began to walk over to Applebee's. Jeffrey saw Sam coming from the other side of the park and went inside. Sam smirked with victory, but before he could get the last laugh, Jeffrey came out with a chainsaw. Sam started to sweat as he neared the door. "Out of the tree, Sam. I know you're in there." Sam poked his head out of the small hole. No one's here. This is a tree. I just want a burger." "You idiot," Jeffrey said. "You're not fooling anyone, and trees don't eat burgers." Silence was all around, inside and outside of the Applebee's. Tension was everywhere, and time seemed to slow, although Sam was not the cause of this. Jeffrey started to rev the chainsaw to life, but before he could start it, Sam took the tree, took it off, and smacked Jeffrey like he was a baseball. Both the tree and Jeffrey were flung multiple miles and then landed into a lake, safely. Sam then dashed inside, only to be clotheslined by the owner. Sam attempted to get up after that, but then was picked up and thrown out. As Sam got up to rush back in again, he was shot with a taser from behind. He turned around to see Officer James and his partner. He hadn't remembered his name, even though he had known him for over a year. James said, "Oi, Sam, we're going to have to attempt to take you downtown." James handcuffed Sam and put him in the back of the cop car, shutting the door. Sam laid down and thought of other ways that he could get inside the Applebee's. James and his partner opened up the front 2 doors and got in their respective seats and started an egg timer, then began driving. I bet we make it about 5 minutes before he leaves," James said with a playful tone. "Nah, man, 3 minutes tops before he does something stupid and escapes," said James's partner. Sam realized he was doing stuff stupidly. Although it was his thing, he needed to be serious this time. And he could escape whenever he wanted and just pop onto the karaoke stage at Applebee's. He had set the stopwatch to stop at exactly 4 minutes, and then disappeared. He then reappeared on the Applebee's karaoke stage. All eyes looked on in panic as Sam grabbed the mic from the stage. Time appeared to slow, and though it wasn't anyone's fault, it almost appeared to be physically impossible. As Sam lifted up the mic, people in the restaurant began to abandon everything and run. The closer the mic got, the more people panicked. Even as the mic closed in, the owner sat on his knees, weeping and praying. His singing wouldn't be so bad it killed the entire city. The mic was only 2 inches from Sam's face. Levi looked in horror as he knew the song was indeed meant for him. He was horrified of the things he would sing. Sweet Home Alabama. Sam started to play the guitar around him. People's heads split because the music was so bad. In a quarter of a mile, ears started to bleed. Sam sang, and police came in with noise-canceling headphones, ran in, shot him multiple times. Although riddled with bullets, he kept singing until the song was finally over. Finishing up, Sam fell down to his knees as he was surrounded by police and thrown into an ambulance. Sam took one more puff from his blunt. So, where did this happen? George Bush sat on a cow leather chair on the other side of an immediate room. He held a blunt in between his pointer finger and his middle finger and had on an elegant suit and tie. Sam said, "Oh, I think it was in about Manorville, Louisiana, if I can recall." George Bush smiled and snapped. The FBI ran in, guns trained on him. Sam looked at George Bush with raw fury in his eyes. "You son of a bitch! You set me up!" George Bush smiled with a menacing grin. "Oh, Sam, you never change." Sam was dragged out of the house, kicking and screaming, as he was thrown into a van. Sam's blunt still sat on the carpet as the ashes fell, setting the carpet ablaze. George Bush had not noticed, due to the fact that he was dozing off after a good day. He had put one of the most deadly men in prison. But as he drifted off, the smoke covered him, destined to be taken by the flames.